Hi guys, please like, share and subscribe and contact this number if you want lectures related to any CM, CS or CB subjects. Thank you. So let me start talking about one of the most important chapters from this curriculum, that is runoff triangles, and it's important both from an exam point of view and from the industry point of view, because this is what GI reserving is all about. Okay, and this is widely asked in the general insurance reserving interviews, right? So please pay a lot of attention and don't ignore this chapter at all. Okay, and it's very easy to do. Like there's no other chapter like this in this curriculum which is so straightforward, right? It's highly methodological. If you use a spreadsheet, that is Excel, then there's absolutely nothing, no chance of a calculation mistake even. So yeah, this is very scoring. Okay, let's just start with this. So so far you obviously know certain things about a general insurance contract as against a life insurance contract, how it is different. We have discussed in the previous chapter itself that general insurance is short term business, right? It's short term business in the sense that the contracts are typically of 1 year, and in that particular year there can be more than one claims as well, right? So that is the whole idea. Now when I say it's short term business, the consideration for reserves or reserving in general insurance is quite different from life insurance. Why? Because if you will see the life insurance world, what happens there? Why do you keep reserves there? You keep reserves there because let's just say there is a 20-year or 30-year contract or a whole life contract. What happens is that you might receive the whole premium in the first year itself. Okay, so your premium might just come in the first year itself, and then you have to cover this life for 20 to 30 years, right? Or a different situation may be that the premiums may be regular. Okay, so you might receive premiums regularly, but the claim will eventually come at some point, and it can come throughout this duration of 20 to 30 years. And because the nature of the contract is long term, even if you have a huge cohort of policies, if you have like 1,000 policies of one type and you're receiving premiums regularly, what will happen typically is that the claim is more likely to arise in the later half of the policy, right? If it is a death benefit, right? Because let's say you issued this to lives age 40, so these lives will be more likely to die at the ages between 60 to 70 than in any previous duration. So you will have to set aside a lot of premium. You will have to set aside premium to cover for a large number of claims that will arise here. Large number of claims. And why will a large number of claims arise here? Because more people will die here between ages 60 and 70. Although your premium might be level, your premium in this duration and the previous durations would be the same. The premium probably would be level. It would be constant every year as it is in a typical life insurance contract. But the most number of claims will arise towards the end. And what will happen is then you will probably end up making a lot of profits in all of these years, but you will make loss in these years, right, towards the end. Okay, so that is something you do not want, and you might also go bankrupt completely in the last few years if you have not kept the initial year's premium aside to cover for the losses in this duration, right? So that is why you need to keep reserve. Reserve is basically the past premium which is set aside to cover for high expected future losses, because more people are expected to die eventually. So out of the 1,000 policies, most policies would mature here, or they will become due here. The claims will become due here, and you want to set aside a lot of money, and that is why you need reserves in life insurance, right? But then why do you even need reserves in general insurance? Because this is short term business. This is just 1 year contract, right? then why would you even want to have reserves? Okay, because in a given year, you receive the premium related to that year, you receive the premium here, and within that year itself, the claim can come. Or it won't come afterwards. It cannot extend beyond this. So you don't need to set aside the past premium to cover for future claims. There will be no claim after time 1, right? Because it's just a short term 1-year contract. Okay. So why do I need a reserve at all? That's the question. Because it's not long term, because I would not expect claims in year 5 or year 7. Then why do I need a reserve at all? And that's the sort of first question that I'm asking here. Okay. And the reason for that is actually very interesting. In a general insurance sort of setup, even if the claim occurs, or even if, let's say, you're dealing with motor insurance, that's the easiest example. Let's say you're dealing with motor insurance, you issued a policy to a policy holder, you received a certain premium of P, let's give this a number, you received a premium of £100, and then in this year, whenever there is an accident, you will pay out the claim. And that sounds really simple, but it's not that simple. Let's say an accident occurs here. Okay, so let's say this is Jan 1 and this is December 31st. Okay, let's say there is an accident on December 15. Okay, this accident has still occurred within this 1 year. Okay. So you are liable to pay a claim on this. But you might have given the policyholder a window of 15 days or 1 month to report this claim. So this claim might not even be reported till December 31st. Let's say you have given a 20-day window to report a claim, right? So the policyholder decides to report the claim on Jan 1 when your year has ended. This is where the reporting happens. Right, but you have closed your books of accounts for this year and you are happy. You thought probably there was no claim on this policy. You just thought that I have made this profit of the premium because there was no claim at all, and you booked all of this £100 as a profit and distributed this profit amongst your shareholders. Okay, because general insurance company is a is a company form of organization. I have given away the profit of £100 to your shareholders, right? Spent it all. And then there is a claim reported of, let's say, some £10,000, very costly car, and there was a loss of life and everything, and you had a third party cover. That is, you were also covering the person that this policy holder, the other person whose car the policy holder damaged. That's typically called as a third party claim. So you were covering all of that, and the claim turned out to be of £10,000, right? So then basically there was some sort of problem. You should have kept this £100 on a lot of policies, because the claims can even be reported after the year end, right? So this sort of claim, which was incurred here but reported here for this duration, this sort of claim is called as an IBNR claim. That is, it was incurred but not reported. Okay, and for such claims, obviously you need to keep a certain reserve, because it takes time for policyholder to report this claim. Okay, this is just one aspect of it. This is just one aspect of the problem. The other aspect can be, let's say the policyholder reported this claim. Okay, now they have reported. Now it's a reported claim. Now after this point, it's not that you just pay this claim immediately. You will send your loss inspector or some surveyor to the accident site to just examine what exactly happened. You will send them to examine the condition of the vehicle that's been in accident. You cannot obviously admit a false claim, maybe the person who reported the claim, the policyholder, deliberately to claim insurance, they just undertook this accident, right? That possibility is there. So you want to be sure, you want to be doubly sure that this is a genuine claim. You'll send your inspector. Then the inspector says that no, the claim should not be of 10,000 pounds. According to them, it should be only of 5,000 pounds. Okay, so maybe like 6 months down the line, in June of the next year, on June 30, the inspector said that the claim should be 5,000. But the policyholder is sure that they don't want 5,000, they want 10,000. They think that the surveyor has made a mistake. Okay, so then the policyholder says, no, I want 10,000. And they go to a court, and there is a court case. Okay, and they file a certain complaint against you on December 31st of the next year, or maybe some other day, December 1st. Okay, so there is a court case. So let's say this was year 2021, and then this was year 2022, and this kept on going. Okay, and then there was this whole court dispute which lasted for like another 2 years, and finally the court ruled that the claim payment should be of 8,000 pounds. Okay, and it is paid on, let's say, in the year 2025. Okay, it's paid in the year 2025 on, let's say, some date, July 5th or something, right? So for all of these years this claim was pending, and you couldn't have just considered this 100 pounds as a profit, right? You need to set aside this money, because the claim related to this insurance policy, which was issued in the year 2021, can still arise by the year 2025. The claim may be paid, the claim is settled here, right? So there can be a difference between the year of writing the policy, the year of accident which occurs, because accident occurred here, then its reporting can be in a different year altogether, and the settlement can be in a different year altogether. And even though this policy just pertains to a short term period, that is just 1 year, the claims can be settled way ahead in the future, and that is why you need reserves. That's the logic. Okay, so while this claim was not reported, this sort of claim is called as IBNR, incurred but not reported. You just don't know about them. Okay, and once it is reported but it is not settled for this whole duration, this is called as an outstanding claim. That is, it is reported but not settled. For both of these types of claims, you need a reserve. Okay, so that is the idea of reserving in general insurance, right? So that is something I want you to understand. Now let's just quickly go through some of the text from the material. Okay, so under a general insurance setup, the normal steps involved in settling a general insurance claim is shown in the following diagram. First, you have the claim event that occurred. This was the accident that we talked about. Okay, then you have the claim reporting. While the claim reporting has not happened, the claim is still IBNR, incurred but not reported. Okay, once the claim is reported, it's yet not settled. The claim payments are to be made, right, after that point. And while till it is not paid, this is called as a outstanding claim, right? So this is an IBNR claim, this is an outstanding claim. You need a reserve for both of them, right? And once the claim payments are made, the file is closed. Okay, but it also may be so that you have made the claim payments, but then the policyholder went ahead and sued you in a court, stating that the claim that you paid was too less. Okay, so even after your claim payments are made, there can be more claim payments before the closure of the file. And this such litigation based claims and everything can come later. But this is something we are not going to discuss in this subject. We are going to keep it simple. We'll just be discussing reserves with respect to IBNR and outstanding claims. Doesn't matter, the methodology is exactly the same. So the kind of methods that we employ in order to figure out this reserve is exactly the same. Okay, so this is the idea. Now general insurer need to be able to estimate the ultimate cost. The ultimate cost of the claim means that what is the final amount you're paying after all the disputes and everything, right? Because there can be multiple claim under the same policy as well within the same year, or maybe you have it's short term business, that's fine, but you can have a 2 or 3 year contract as well, right? General insurers need to be able to estimate the ultimate cost of claims for several purposes. What are the purposes? For example, they need to know the full cost of paying up the claims in order to set the future premium rates. So you need to have an idea what is the typical amount of claims that comes on each policies, so that I can profitably determine my premium rate, right? Also, they need to set up reserves in their accounts to make sure that they have sufficient assets to cover the liabilities, right? This is something I was talking about. You need to set aside money from a group of policies, right? We'll be talking about everything with respect to a group of policies, a portfolio of policies. You need to set aside that premium so that when that claim comes, you have money to pay it off, right? So yeah, you cannot just book your profit in that year and pay off your shareholder all of the profit, right? You need to hold on to that money in terms of investment probably, so that you can just cover your claims that come in the future. So you know what is the amount of claim that I'm expecting, and that's why you need the reserve calculations to be as accurate as possible. Okay, so now let's just get into the concept of run-off triangle, right? So what is the idea here? The idea is you usually will be looking at tables like these. Okay, let me just take a very simple example to begin with, and then I will complicate things here and there. Okay, so there is something called as the accident year. This is the year in which the accident has occurred. So you can have accidents that occurred in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. Okay, and these are the development years. These are the years in which the claim is settled. Okay, fine. So when I say year 0 with respect to 2008, year 0 means 2008 itself. Okay, so this is basically the year itself. That's why it's called as 0. This 1 is t plus 1, that is for 2008 we are talking about 2009 here. This is t plus 2, this is t plus 3, and this is t plus 4. So basically, and notice something, that here we are dealing with cumulative payments, cumulative claim payments, right? So out of all the claims that occurred in 2008, 786 are paid by 2008. 1410 are paid by 2009, by the end of 2009. 2216 are paid by the end of 2010, and 2519 are paid by the end of 2012, right? So these are cumulative amounts, right? So what is the amount that is paid in 2010? That would be 1410 minus 786. So paid in 2010 will be equal to 1410 minus 786, whatever it is, right? If you want to find the claims of 2010 that are paid in 2012, let's say, so that will be 2880 minus 1814. So that's how it works. Okay, now this is the sort of table that we'll be dealing with. What will be our objective here? Our objective will be to complete this table. In what sense? Our objective will be to complete these values, right? So this upper triangle that you see, is complete. Right? This lower triangle is what you need to complete. Okay, how? Basically, you will be projecting that what amount of claims from 2009 will be settled by this is 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13. What amount of claims from 2009 will be settled by 2013? This is what you need to find out. Or what amount of claims out of 2012 will be settled in 2013 or by 2014 or by 2015. So these are the values that you need to fill, and that is the sort of projection we are doing, and this is the amount of reserve that then you will hold, right, in order to be able to settle those claims. Okay, so this is what we are dealing with, right? So these are called as delay triangles as well, not only runoff triangles. The other name for them is delay triangles, right? So yeah, okay, let's talk about a couple more things here. So let's just look at this question. The total amount of claims paid in 2012 in respect of accidents that occurred in 2010. So what is the claims that are paid in 2010 with respect to accidents that occurred in 2010, right? So what is this number? So it will be 2880. This is the claims that are settled by 2012, and out of that you will subtract the claims that had been paid by 2011. The total claims paid during (2012). Okay, what are the total claims that we have paid during 2012? How do you calculate that? So in 2012, you are paying the claims from 2008, from 2009, from 2010, from 2011 and 2012. So this diagonal tells you what is the total number of claims you have paid in 2012. So how do you find it? So what are the claims you have paid for 2008? It's 2519 minus 2440. Okay. Then what is the claims that you have paid for 2009? So it's 2796 minus 2515. The first one was 2008. This is 2009. Okay, then the next one, for with respect to 2010, you have paid 2880 minus 1814, right? For 2011, you have paid 2412 minus 1220, and for 2012 you have paid 1182. Okay, so this will give you the total claims that you have paid in 2012. Add them up. I am not doing it. Right, so let's move on. So okay, couple of things here. This table we have defined it with a certain assumptions. First thing is we are taking accident here. Okay, you're taking the accident here, but you can also take, or you can also define these cohorts. So this is a cohort. This is the cohort of accidents that occurred in 2008, and out of that how many are paid in the further subsequent years is what we are trying to figure out. Okay, instead of taking the cohort defined with respect to the accident year, you can define it with respect to the reporting year. That is basically out of the claims which are reported in 2008, how many are settled in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you can change the definition of the rows, basically make them reporting year, right? Or you can also make the definition with respect to the written year, basically the underwriting year, the year in which you issued the policy, right? So what is the number of claims that have been settled in year 2012 out of all the policies which were written in the year 2008, right? So all of these years can be different. Okay, these are some definitions you can follow. Also, instead of taking accounting years, or sorry, calendar years here, we are taking calendar years, right? 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12. You can also take quarters or months. You can work with quarters or months, development quarters or development months in this table. Does barely makes a difference. Just something that, you know, that can be some alternative representation. Okay, so you can take origin months or origin quarters is what they're saying. Okay, now question: if we projected the claims in the runoff triangles, which of the reserves described in the previous section would be included if the table showed the amount of claims paid tabulated by accident years? Okay, so if you are tabulating by accident year, then what types of reserves are you actually including, right? So if this is accident year, that means that the claim first needs to be reported and then it needs to be settled. Okay, so there are two stages. So when I am talking about these numbers, then because there is accident year here, then this includes the reserve with respect to, basically when I'll be calculating these numbers here, the ones which are missing. Okay, so for year 4, that is in this case, let's just say for 2009, I will be calculating the claims which will be settled by 2013, right? So this can include both type of claims. It can include claims that have not been reported yet, and it can include the claims which have not been settled yet, both type of claims, because I'm just working with accident year, right? So I know one thing, accident has occurred, but I don't know if the reporting has happened, and I don't know if the settlement has happened. Because of that, these claims, if they are reported by accident year, they include both IBNR and they include the outstanding claims. Right? The amount of claims paid tabulated by reporting year. Now, if I'm tabulating by reporting year itself, then I am looking at claims which have already been reported. So if they have already been reported, then I'm just making reserves for outstanding claims. Okay, so this should be clear to you. Okay, so this is one example in this context itself. Let's read it. Consider a claim on an incident occurring on December 1st, 2017. So the incident occurred, the date of the accident is December 1st, 2017, for an insurance policy that was written on 21st December 2016. So the policy was issued in 2016, right? And it was reported on 15 January 2018. So the reporting was on 15 January and it was settled in July 2018. Okay, so then the development year, if we take the accident year basis, if you take the accident year basis, then when is the claim settled? The claim is settled in 2018. Okay, what was your accident year? Accident year was 2017, right? So what will you take it to be? How will you show it on the runoff triangle? You will say 2017 year 0 year 1. This is where it will appear, right? Because if we go by the accident year basis, then accident year is 2017, right? And then settlement is not in the year itself, it's in the next year, so it will be here, so it will appear here. Okay, if you go by the underwriting year basis, that is, you are taking underwriting here. So when was the policy underwritten? So underwriting year was 2016, and then settlement is in year 2018, so it will appear here. Okay, it was settled in the it was settled in T+2. Okay, so it will appear here. And if you are taking the reporting year basis, then the reporting was in year 2018 itself and the settlement was also in 2018 itself. So in 2018 it will appear again 0. Okay, so that is the idea. Okay, so this is something I wanted to discuss. Now let's just move into the projection and the mathematics of runoff triangles.